When we look at today's rows over the European Convention on Human Rights, the calls to suspend Articles 3 and 8 and the political candour for mass deportations, we need to recognise that this is not entirely a new departure. It is part of a trajectory that began with David Blunkett's authoritarian instincts as Home Secretary from 2001 to 2004, or even Jack Straw's. The rot, if you like, set in then. Blunkett's style was domineering, centralising, and impatient with checks and balances. He came to office after Jack Straw, but it was Blunkett who pushed the Home Office into becoming a fortress of control, fear, and security and control. The Home Office stopped being merely an administrative department and became a machine designed to project toughness at all costs and unaccountability. After the September the 11th attacks, Blunkett rushed through the Anti-Terrorism, Crime and Security Act 2001. It included indefinite detention without trial for foreign nationals suspected of terrorism, and this was later struck down by the law lords in A versus Secretary of State in 2004, when Lord Hoffman famously warned the real threat to the life of the nation comes not from terrorism, but from laws such as these. But by then the damage was done. The Home Office had shown it would trample liberty to assert control. Blunkett was the champion of ID cards linked to biometric database. Though the scheme collapsed, it revealed his deep instinct for mass surveillance and control. Today's Snoopers Charter debates trace back directly to this mindset. And in terms of asylum and immigration policy, here Blunkett hardened the culture. He introduced harsher deportation rules, expanded the dispersal system, and made remarks about schools being swamped by asylum seeker children. His rhetoric set the template for the later hostile environment under Theresa May and the cruelty of Priti Patel and Suella Braverman. Blunkett drove through longer sentences and created the notorious indeterminate sentences for public protection, the IPPs. These trapped thousands in prison without clear release dates. They bunged up our prison system, a crisis that still clogs up the justice system. And again, the pattern was authoritarian control first, legal coherence later, if ever. It's been a culture of hostility that Blunkett's leadership has left the Home Office addicted to control, addicted to hostility, addicted to nastiness, addicted to secrecy. Migrants, asylum seekers, and even subjects of first Her Majesty, now His Majesty, came to be treated with suspicion. The department became risk-averse, defensive, and cruel. Ministers since, Clark, Reid, Smith, May, Patel, Braverman, all inherited this institutional DNA. And that is why Lord Blunkett's call this week for suspending the ECHR is so telling and so predictable, really. He hasn't changed. The man who embraced indefinite detention without trial now proposes that Britain put civil liberties on pause to get a grip on asylum. His authoritarian instinct was not a passing feature of the early 2000s. It is his worldview. Graham Stringer, a Labour backbencher, has gone further and called for leaving the ECHR outright. Lord Glassman, a Blue Labour, of course, has echoed him, and Nigel Farage, with his plan for 5 deportation flights a day and mass detention camps, pushes the authoritarian fantasy to its extreme. Even Yvette Cooper's moderate position is to limit judicial use of Articles 3 and 8. The ground has shifted so far towards control and coercion that Blunkett's radical proposals are now a serious part of mainstream debate. This is the real tragedy, the legacy that Blunkett has left. What Blunkett began as a way to look tough in the tabloids hardened into a culture of authoritarianism that still defines the Home Office. Authoritarianism and secrecy. You cannot contact the Home Office. Even if you're a member of Parliament, you cannot contact the Home Office. You have to do through texts. Priti Patel and Suella Braverman merely extended the logic that he embedded: suspicion, cruelty and bureaucratic control, trumpeting liberty, compassion and due process. So when we hear Blunkett today urging Keir Starmer to suspend the ECHR, we should see not a one-off intervention, but the natural continuation of his long record of nastiness. The authoritarian instinct he normalised has brought us to this point. And unless it is challenged and called out, the Home Office will remain not just dysfunctional, but structurally hostile, punitive and allergic to the values of human rights that it is supposed to uphold.